Aliens. The aliens are coming to Elite Dangerous. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the history of the Elite series. We're going to also talk about what has been going on in the game and where it's headed. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about these aliens that are invading Elite. Welcome to What the Math. So what has been happening in Elite and why am I making this video? Well, about a few months ago, I believe it was actually May of 2015, people have started to discover these really strange artifacts in space that you see on the screen right now that actually would just stay there and make some strange noise, specifically clicking noise, and would then release particles once in a while. And the humming noise turned out to be Morse code, and on top of that, all of these articles would actually then point in some unknown direction in space, and there's actually quite a lot of them that have been found, and all of them were pointing in one direction. So this was a very strange and unusual, and then months have passed until a few weeks from now, and specifically we're talking about, I believe it was January 20th of 2016, one of the commanders in Elite Dangerous discovered something else and was actually able to kind of decode the Morse code and found out that all of these artifacts were pointing at a system called Merope. And this was a system in the Pleiades constellation. Basically, there's really nothing there. It's a completely empty nebula that you can go and explore by yourself. And what this person has discovered on a planet called Merope 5c are these unusual, strange artifacts. And here we're talking about the so-called Barnicles, Barnicles of Merope. And these are also emitting noise if you come close to them. They also have strange markings on them. There's something that resembles flowers, and you can destroy them, collect artifacts, and then sell them for a ridiculous amount of money. Now, all of this is actually really unusual, really strange, and really interesting because all of this is pointing toward the so-called Thargoids. Thargoids were the aliens from Elite series, and they have quite a lot of lore and quite a lot of interesting, unusual story behind them. Now today I'm actually gonna talk about Thargoids. I'm also gonna show you how I found Merope. You'll be watching me basically approaching Merope from scratch, and then I'll show you what the actual barnacles look like. And while you're watching this, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the history of Elite, so you kind of get the idea of where the game is headed and how we got to the situation where we are right now. So first of all, who and what are Thargoids? So in the Elite series, Thargoids are these insectoid aliens who are basically like big alien mantises. They originated from outside of known space, and they've existed in either a parallel universe or possibly in another dimension, and then they actually decided to visit our galaxy and our dimension and kind of invade it. But Thargoids are actually two different species. There's Thargoids that are very aggressive, and there's also Thargoids that are not as aggressive. But for all intents and purposes, they're just called Thargoids. Now, we don't really know what their homeworld is, and we don't really know where they actually from. We don't even know what they precisely look like, but what we do know is that they might be originally from ammonia-based planets, so their physiology is very, very different from humans. And this also means that since ammonia boils at minus 33 degrees, they might actually have really, really cold conditions where they live. And this obviously includes the both Thargoid species, and specifically here we're talking about Klaxians, which are the aggressive ones, and Orisians, which are not so aggressive. We also know that the Thargoids that were actually aggressive and that would attack humans had their so-called fear glands removed, meaning that they became completely fearless. So there was actually a special surgery they had to undergo to become warriors, and they would basically remove the organ that was responsible for their fear. We also know a little bit about their communication. We know that they communicate with each other either through audio or through pheromones and chemical means. Basically, they release pheromones, and they also can communicate by making various clicks. But despite being mantis-looking creatures, they also have opposable thumbs just like us, meaning that they can actually manipulate different objects. But interestingly, all of the Thargoids that have been discovered have all of them have been female. In other words, they don't have any reproductive organs, so we're not really sure how they reproduce. We know that they have 6 legs and 2 arms, and they're actually about 7 feet tall, and they're really, really strong, so they could easily dismember a human if they actually met us face to face. They're also a lot more technologically advanced than humans, which is why they actually were quite victorious at first. Now let's actually talk about the history here. And we're going to be using the game years just to make this a little bit more clear. So in the year 2849, we encounter the first Thargoid vessel, and this was the first encounter, but it did end up in a battle. And about 2 years after this, Thargoid actually started their first invasion of a system that belonged to the Galactic Corporation, and so the Galactic Navy had to actually try to protect many systems. And then for the next few years, and specifically here between 2870 and 2875, there was quite a lot of battles that were going on between the Thargoid and the Galactic Navy. And all of this you could actually play through and witness in the first Elite game. In other words, Elite 1 was basically the game that introduced Thargoids and also introduced the ability to basically shoot down their ships and then sell their equipment. And according to Elite 1 mythology, the actual war was started by a single captain, a trigger-happy fleet commander that actually just shot at a vessel that belonged to Thargoids, and they ended up just destroying everything in their path. So in other words, technically the humanity started the war with Thargoids, not the other way around, but they were much better at war and they actually were winning it. And for hundreds of years after this, until about 3100s actually, the Thargoids would constantly attack the humans, and humans would actually usually lose the battles, and Thargoids invaded the human space and would basically decimate colonies one after another. Also, by about 3125, humans learned that Thargoids were very adept at using so-called Witchspace, so basically the space that you go in between in order for you to travel really fast, and they would actually rip the ships out of Witchspace and destroy them by keeping them inside this Witchspace and basically attacking them right there. So imagine you're traveling in your ship and you're trying to go faster at the speed of light, and suddenly a Thargoid ship captures you, keeps you inside the Witchspace, and starts shooting at you. So this is what it was like for many captains. And this of course meant that interstellar traveler was no longer safe and would actually be quite dangerous, because you could get interdicted anytime and it would then be attacked by the Thargoid species. And then suddenly in Elite 2 we find out that apparently by the year 3200 Thargoids retreated. They completely escaped human space and they disappeared for an unknown reason. They were actually completely gone. And it's not until another Elite game called Elite the First Encounters, and this was actually the first game I've ever played from the Elite series back in the 90s. This is when we find out that the reason that Thargoids retreated was because of a human-engineered mycoid virus, which would basically attack their organic ships and destroy their structure, but it would also attack Thargoids themselves. And not only did it destroy their ship's engine and hyperdrive abilities, but it also actually killed many Thargoids. And this virus was actually engineered by one of the human factions that essentially almost destroyed the species completely. As a matter of fact, in the First Encounters, your job is to try to save the species. You actually try to capture the antivirus and then bring it to the Thargoid species to try to save them. And what the game hints on is that because you save them, they actually forgive the humans and retreat into their own space. Although this of course is a speculation and it has never really been officially proven. And now in the game, where we are right now in the 3300s, we have now officially have new reports of renewed Thargoid contact, and it looks like they might be actually are returning. And so all of these artifacts we have been finding are very likely Thargoid in nature, and they're very likely a premonition of what's to come in the game. And we're talking about a very advanced, very powerful, and very scary species of aliens that can easily destroy many of the human ships and that have a very advanced technology. Their technology is actually so advanced that they don't even use the same type of propulsion. Their so-called space drive ships seem to actually propel through space just by hovering. They don't have any kind of a engine, they don't have any propulsion system that is visible. They just seem to use an inertialess drive that basically makes them fly through space. And because of the way that they communicate with each other, and because of the way their society works, and specifically we're talking about a kind of a hive mind where you can, or they can essentially understand and see what they all see and what they all understand, it does make them a very difficult opponent if they do return into Elite Dangerous. And from the previous games, we know that because of their advanced technology, they were even able to build humongous structures, even structures that were as big as planets that would actually affect the gravity around them. Which of course both makes it really scary and really exciting, because if they actually add all of this to the game, this will be absolutely incredible. And I think only the future will tell us if this is actually going to happen, if this is all true, and if Thargoids are coming. And if they are coming, Elite Dangerous Horizons is going to become a very, very, very fun game to play, because not only is the mystery finally going to be solved, but we will now have a new enemy to focus on. Now, what is really exciting about the game this month specifically, and I guess in the next few months it will get even more exciting, is that now that we've discovered the system where the Thargoids are present, you can actually go there yourself and explore it as well. Now, I don't really recommend doing this in the online mode, because if you go there with other players, you will most likely get shot by another player. A lot of players have been actually acting very aggressively toward each other, mostly because many people are carrying very expensive artifacts. But going there in solo mode, you'll actually get to not only explore it in peace, but you'll get to see what it was like originally without it being destroyed by other players. And you will of course get to collect all of the loot and then sell it for lots of money. Now, to get to that planet, and this is what I was doing here, you need to go to a system called Merope and land, or basically scan the planets first and land on a planet called Merope 5C. I'm also posting the coordinates for one of the Thargoid Barnicles in the description of this video. If you want to find it, it's located there. There's actually more than one. You're more than welcome to try to find other ones. But even this one will give you a few artifacts that you can then collect and sell at the nearest market in Maia system. There's actually a quest in Maia system that will allow you to even gain favor toward the faction there and make more money. But interestingly, these artifacts are actually kind of dangerous to carry. They will destroy your ship if you carry them for too long, so don't try to bring them back all the way to your original system. And they're also illegal, so if you get caught carrying them, you're in trouble. But nevertheless, I think this is a pretty exciting time to get this game and to actually start playing it, because it now gives us an idea of where this game is headed, and of course it also gives you a reason to go exploring, to go looking for these secret artifacts, secret alien spaceships in the middle of space, and of course to try to collect these really expensive artifacts and to sell them to people that want them. And if you actually take your time to read some of the articles that are posted in the news inside the game, or even the articles that you get to see when you just start your launcher, you'll learn about the so-called Dr. Palin, who is a researcher in the game, and I'm not actually sure if it's a real player or if it's just a NPC that is in the game, but this Professor Palin is paying a lot of money for collecting these artifacts, and he seems to have some sort of a secret goal in trying to do research on all of these alien artifacts. Either way, all of this mystery is just making me want to play this game even more, and I definitely recommend that you get into it as well. Anyway, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you learned a little bit more about Elite Dangerous series, the history of the game, and Thargoids, the aliens that are coming to the game really soon. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it and like it as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and check out some of the other space videos, Elite Dangerous videos, and other videos I've posted on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Game you later. See you in the next video, and bye bye.